Strengths, ctd.northwestern.edu.
The different goals of owning a TV station versus owning a network.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Odoo, dedicated to providing software designed to scale with businesses. Odoo's programs for manufacturing, accounting, and more aim to provide building blocks for creating a custom software suite. Odoo, what businesses need.
I'm David Brancaccio in Los Angeles. After being pulled by ABC last week, Jimmy Kimmel's late night show was back on TV last night. There's an asterisk. The station groups Nexstar and Sinclair, which control ABC affiliates that reach about 20% of the country, opted out. As you've been hearing, Kimmel was generally somber, saying he understood why his comments about the murder of right-wing activist Charlie Kirk were, quote, ill-timed, unclear, or maybe both. There are issues of appropriate speech versus free speech at play in this saga, but here, some business context. Two station groups, Nexstar and Tegna, are working on a $6 billion merger. That plus the business models of the broadcast stations may be diverging from the models of the firms that own the networks. That's the view of Craig LeMay, a professor at Northwestern University's Medill School of Journalism. Professor, welcome.
Thank you.
Nexstar, Tegna, more people may know Sinclair Broadcasting. These station groups are big players, but not necessarily, what, household names?
Not household names, but they are very big players, and they have interests that are not the same as the networks. They also have licenses to protect, where the networks actually do not, except in their owned and operated stations. And the networks see their competition in the future with big streamers. I just think the Kimmel episode has really put the spotlight on this new era of affiliate network relationships, and we'll see where it's going to go.
Divergent business models, divergent goals, but also divergent decisions, right? I mean, Disney, ABC put Kimmel back on, yet Sinclair and Nexstar did not put that first episode back on the air. I mean, it plays out with content.
It does. And it's always been the case that affiliates have the option not to run it if they find it offensive or think it would offend their audience. But this is, it doesn't play out in public the way this particular episode has.
Of course, we have a long history in this country about concern about powerful owners of a lot of media properties and their effect on the political process and the effect on the news.
We do. But the reason we're talking about this at all is because of the heavy hand of the FCC. I mean, the FCC, the Communications Act, as you know, specifically says the FCC has no power to censor. But it also gives it discretion to award licenses. So it's an indirect power over programming. And there's never been an FCC chairman to exercise that power in the way that Chairman Carr proposes to.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting point that you make, right? Those of us who grew up in broadcasting were always mindful of never saying bad words on the air because the FCC was going to come in and get us in trouble. But in fact, beyond the dirty words, the FCC has not had a long role in, let's say, policing content.
No, it hasn't. My former colleague, Newton Minow, famously exercised his discretion as chairman through the raised eyebrow approach. And while he talked about broadcasters failing to serve the public interest, he was more concerned about what they were not doing in terms of news and public affairs. And then later, during the Reagan administration, we had an FCC approach led by the chairman there, who said the public interest is whatever interests the public. But you just never seen the FCC go after news organizations the way it has now. It's using, if I'm listening to Chairman Carr's language, he's talking about the news distortion policy that the FCC has, which is a very informal policy. No one really knows what it means, not the broadcasters, not the FCC, but it hangs like a sword of Damocles over the broadcasters.
This is a principle that if it's perceived that the news is being distorted past a certain threshold, the FCC does have a rule in intervening?
Yeah, and the FCC has made news distortion complaints, of course, against Comcast and NBC, and then, of course, against CBS for its 60 Minutes interview with Kamala Harris. But the policy, insofar as it has any clarity at all, requires real deliberate deception by a broadcaster. It can't simply be inaccuracy or a difference of opinion.
Craig LeMay is a professor at Northwestern University's Medill School of Journalism. Thank you for the briefing.
Thank you.
Coming off a down day for the stock market on Tuesday, the Nasdaq index with many tech companies fell 1%. This after the chair of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, reminded market players that more interest rate cuts this year are possible but not guaranteed. This morning, S&P futures are up 0.1%, Nasdaq futures up 0.2%.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Avalara, providing cloud-based solutions for businesses to manage property tax compliance. Learn more at avalara.com/property tax.
President Trump has canceled a meeting with congressional Democrats where they were supposed to talk about preventing a partial government shutdown, with money running out next week. If Republicans and Democrats can't reach a deal, many federal agencies will close a week from today. Marketplace's Nancy Marshall-Genzer joins me now with the latest.
Hey, David, in a social media post, President Trump called off the meeting planned for this week with Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. Trump didn't close the door completely. He said he looked forward to a meeting with the Democrats if they, quote, get serious about the future of our nation. Schumer accused Trump of running away from the negotiating table.
What were they going to actually talk about?
Well, the Republicans want Democrats to agree to a stopgap bill through around Thanksgiving, which basically keeps funding at this year's levels with a bit more for security for congressional and administration officials. Democrats want the bill to include money to extend expiring subsidies for people who buy health insurance on the Obamacare exchanges. They also want to reverse Republicans' cuts to Medicaid.
All right, Nancy, here you and I are again. Remind us what happens if they run out and they shut down?
There is no plan right now. Usually the Office of Management and Budget publicizes shutdown plans on its website. Right now, that page is blank. We do know Social Security checks would still go out. The government would continue paying interest on its debt. Federal agencies can decide which employees are essential and have to keep working without pay during a shutdown. In the past, air traffic controllers and TSA screeners had to work, for example. We just don't know yet exactly who would be essential in this shutdown.
All right. Marketplace's Nancy Marshall-Genzer works out of our Washington bureau. I'm in Los Angeles. This is the Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.